We have partnered with a world-renowned RF designer. They have looked at our network, they've looked at what's the most efficient placement and the best location for these towers. The design that we have is so solid.
Being able to place your network where you have designed your network means that the customer will have faster data. The customer will communicate better, which is ultimately what the goal should be.
We are ready. Turn us on.
Thousands of Bahamian workers could see a wage increase by August. Officials at Ocean Club speak out on the hotel union president's recent arrest, the Pharmacy Council's lingering concerns over national health insurance, plus a finalist in the Carnival Music Masters competition donates her long-awaited prize to a children's home. We've got those stories and a whole lot more tonight. I'm Vonique Tudend, and NB12 Weekend starts now. Following repeated calls for an increase in the minimum wage, Labor Minister Shane Gibson says thousands of suffocating Bahamians could see a wage increase by the end of August. Gibson says the proposed increase is extremely important, asserting it is virtually impossible for anyone to live off minimum wage.
With or without value-added tax, $150 a week for the minimum wage right now is too low, with or without value-added tax.
That's why Gibson says government is moving to increase the minimum wage in the Bahamas in less than 2 months. The minimum wage for public sector employees is $225 per week, while the minimum wage for private sector workers is $150 per week. Government invited its social partners to submit their recommendations for a wage increase by the end of 2014. However, the process was delayed after a private sector group requested more time. The labor minister said he received a recommendation from the Tripartite Council following its first official meeting earlier this month.
We now got the recommendation for the increase in minimum wage, and very shortly we'll be sharing that with the public. And so I've already given instructions to have a cabinet paper prepared to be presented to cabinet, and once cabinet approves it, then we'll be bringing it to Parliament.
In February, Gibson told parliamentarians that thousands of Bahamians are suffocating because of the low minimum wage in the Bahamas and promised to fix this problem sooner rather than later. He told NB12 he expects this process to be completed in 2 months or less.
I would like to see it go into effect before the end of August.
Right.
Into effect, that is. I'd like to see us pass it in Parliament before we break for the summer,
Right.
which means it will go into effect before the end of August.
Gibson would not say what figure the National Council recommended. However, Trade Union Congress President Obi Ferguson has suggested the minimum wage be increased to at least $300.
It is extremely important because you have lots of employers who would always pay the minimum wage, always. Now you have some good employers who they never pay minimum wage. If the minimum wage is $150, they probably pay $300-400 a week. But you have a group of employers who would always pay their employees whatever the minimum wage is. And so those are the persons we're trying to look out for.
In other news, officials at the one and only Ocean Club are speaking out on Friday's incident, which resulted in Hotel Union President Nicole Martin being escorted off the property and taken to the police station in the back of a police car. Vice President of Corporate Communications Ashley McBain said in a statement, it all started when the resort advised Hotel Union executives they would not be allowed to attend an employee team meeting on Friday. McBain says management agreed to meet with union officials at the end of the day. However, union execs entered the property against the directions of security personnel and barged into the meeting in a vocal and disruptive fashion. McBain said that disruptive and aggressive behavior continued after the meeting, prompting police officers on site to take charge of the situation. Martin, who was taken into police custody, was released from Central Police Station on Friday without being charged. She told NB12 she and union executives were on property seeking to meet with management over the recent decision to make 29 employees redundant. As government prepares to roll out national health insurance in January 2016, some local pharmacists say they are still concerned about some aspects of the proposed plan. Jasmine Brown reports.
Over the past few months, several groups have expressed their concern about NHI, and now those pharmacists are joining in. President of the Bahamas Pharmaceutical Association, Michelle Finlayson, says national health insurance is a massive undertaking, and members of the association want to make sure their businesses stay viable.
NHI comes with a lot of I won't say baggage, but it comes with a lot of proposals that the pharmacy owners, we have to make certain that everything is in order. I mean, that may be the best way, and we are trying not to discuss so much about it because we are in discussions right now with NHI. But we hope by the end of our roundtable discussions that we're all able to come up with a plan that will most certainly assist with healthcare moving forward.
The scheme is expected to be rolled out in less than 7 months. When asked whether January 2016 may be too soon to roll out the first phase of NHI, Finlayson said only time will tell, as there are still many unknowns about NHI.
Our government seems to be well on their way for the implementation, so really and truly, we look forward to see what the process will be. We haven't been briefed exactly how the rollout will be completed, but we look forward to it. I can't say whether or not January 1st would be too soon, but we wait to see. We understand it may not be the full rollout that was previously discussed, so really and truly we can't say if January 1st is too soon. The plan, we're just with the budget debate now, we're just getting bits and pieces of the information.
On Thursday, the government's chief consultant on national health insurance admitted there is still a lot of research and recommendations to be made on NHI. Though the government intends to roll out NHI in January, the first phase of the scheme will likely only encompass general improvements to the existing healthcare system. The initial $60 million allocation is far below the cost that was projected by government consultants. The SANAGEST report said NHI would cost between $362 million on the low end and $633 million on the high end annually. While SANAGEST recommended several tax models, including a payroll tax to fund the scheme, the government has announced a new tax will not accompany the initial rollout of NHI. Still, owner of the prescription parlor pharmacy, Laura Pratt Charlton, says while NHI is clearly needed, it must be done properly. She says her biggest concern is funding.
NHI is a needed program because, like I usually tell persons, I'm not a proponent for stakeouts, cookouts, and south-outs. And I think it will afford the general community an opportunity to access health care. But we just need to be sure that it's properly planned and that the key stakeholders of the plan are involved with the initial planning to be sure that we dot our I's, cross our T's, to be sure that the plan is very effective as we want it to be. I think my biggest concern is funding. I have concerns as to how it is going to be funding, because on the heels of VAT, you're now implementing, which is in essence another tax, because we're going to have to pay. It's not an option. From what I understand, it's mandatory, so we're going to have to pay. And it's quickly coming on the heels of VAT, so we're just kind of getting used to the taxation idea, and now we're introducing additional deductions from person's salary.
Minister of Health Dr. Perry Gomez said this week that the healthcare system is already being improved, referencing the extension of the operating hours of various clinics. He said the government is seeking to ensure NHI is rolled out smoothly. Gomez said details on how the scheme will be implemented will be revealed in the coming months. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
And a finalist in the Bahamas Junkanoo Carnival Music Masters competition has put a positive spin on the negative publicity surrounding the Carnival Commission's late payments to Bahamian artists. Days after receiving her $12,000 check, first runner-up Erica Lady E. Simonet donated $1,000 to the Ranfurly Home for Children.
One of the biggest things for me is giving back to the community. I think that with everything that's going on, that it's a positive thing that should come out of Carnival, which is giving back to an organization like the Ranfurly Home, like the Cancer Society, like the Lupus Society. Giving to a worthy cause is never a bad thing.
And why the Ranfurly Home?
The Ranfurly Home for Kids, I heard their cry a long time ago. They've been one of the organizations that really needs the help of all Bahamians.
The Bahamas National Festival Commission was heavily criticized for taking more than a month to pay artists who performed over the Carnival weekend of events. Those artists finally received their checks last week.
It was, Monique, it was wonderful. It was wonderful that the BNFC was able to finally pay and get everyone sorted out. I know everyone was waiting and anxious, just like me. But what I was really anxious for was to fulfill a lot of promises that I made. And one of those promises was to give back to the community, was to give back to the Ranfurly Home, was to make sure I have a partner in my song, Mr. Iris Store, make sure to pay him and to pay bills that went along with the music video. So to have those things done is really a weight off my shoulders. So I'm just...
Ranfurly Home Administrator Alexander Roberts thanked Lady E for her generosity.
We depend primarily, really, on the goodwill and generosity of private individuals and corporate sponsors. We are considered the only private or independent home in the Bahamas. And so the grant from government that we get is much less than the other homes get. So we are more in need of private and corporate donations. So I want to thank you sincerely.
The Ranfurly Home currently serves as a safe haven for 25 children, that's 15 boys and 10 girls, ages 11 to 18. After going through a rough patch in recent years, Robert says they were grateful for an increase in donations this year. However, he said the need for financial assistance is still great.
Because the children of today are not only the leaders of tomorrow, depending on how you treat the children, then they could be the problems of tomorrow. I mean, we just heard of a serious incident yesterday at one of the schools. We have to guide the youth and give them a nurturing environment in which to blossom.
MB12 is back after this break, so stay with us.